Yo, this is MC Ice-T.
Yeah, and I'm Fab Five Freddy.
MC Dennis Hopper.
And the Week in Rock.
This week, we've got a sneak peek at the brand new Guns N' Roses video, a trip into deepest New Jersey with Bon Jovi, and a spring break party quiz with Kevin Seal. Hi, I'm Kurt Loder. Welcome to the Week in Rock. Well, it was a week of much controversy, starting on Monday when it became known that Guns N' Roses had been kicked off their bill-topping spot on a big AIDS benefit show in New York City. The band was the only act confirmed for the Rock and a Hard Place show, which was supposed to take place in June at Manhattan's Radio City Music Hall. They were dropped at the demand of one of the event's sponsors, the Gay Men's Health Crisis, because of some lines in the song One in a Million on the group's current EP, GNR Lies. The song, which was also recently savaged by veteran New York rock critic Robert Christgau, refers in one verse to, quote, faggots creating a, quote, disease. The band issued a statement after being dumped saying simply, "We wish the Gay Men's Health Crisis every success with the event." However, frontman Axl Rose had previously discussed the song in an interview in Rip magazine in which he said, quote, "I don't know what to think about gays. They're in a world of their own." The group has repeatedly declined any further elaboration. None of this is likely to dampen the reception for Guns N' Roses' fourth video, though. It's for the ballad Patience, and it'll have its transgalactic premiere at 3 p.m. this Monday on MTV, and later again on Now Hear This. It's another long one, but here's a short look.
I've been walking the streets tonight, just trying to get it right. It's hard to see with so many around. No, I don't like being stuck in the crowd. And the streets don't change, but baby, the name. I ain't got time for the game, 'cause I need you. Yeah, but I need you.
Wow. A man in even hotter water this week was New Jersey high school principal Joe Clark, the subject of the #1 movie in the country, Lean on Me. Already under fire for the apparent failure of the much-publicized Get Tough policies he instituted at Patterson's East Side High School, Clark was suspended from his job all this week because of a dance troupe performance at a school variety show that took place while Clark was out of town recently promoting Lean on Me. Eric Floyd, the show's producer, had an explanation of sorts for all the skin on display.
You have to understand it is African dancing that is done. If the show had been allowed to continue, it would have been shown on that videotape. African dancers are normally scantily clad.
Maybe. In any case, on Tuesday, the Patterson City Council recommended firing Clark because of all the commotion surrounding him. The local school board, however, declined to do that. Clark is due back at Eastside High on Monday, but at last word, the embattled principal wasn't sure whether he'd actually be showing up. A much more alarming case will be going to the Supreme Court on Tuesday, and this week it was drawing ever louder cries of outrage from First Amendment activists, ranging from the ACLU to folk singer Michelle Schacht and veteran radical lawyer William Kunstler. At issue is the case of 32-year-old Gregory Johnson, a member of the Revolutionary Communist Youth Brigade, who was arrested during a protest march outside the Republican National Convention in Dallas in 1984 and charged and subsequently convicted of burning an American flag in violation of a Texas statute prohibiting, quote, desecration of a venerated object. Johnson's conviction was overturned on appeal on constitutional grounds, but the local district attorney took the case to the Supreme Court, which had refused to declare flag burning a crime 15 years ago, but which now, with a conservative majority, may not be so liberally inclined. Is the U.S. flag more important as a piece of cloth than the constitutional guarantees it's supposed to represent? On Thursday, we talked with Gregory Johnson, his attorney William Kunstler, and Michelle Schacht, who was with Johnson at that Dallas protest back in 1984, and here's what they had to say.
The flag got burned. The international press was there. There were cameramen from Paris, from Rome, Italy, from Mexico City. There were Japanese news people there, and they were, focusing their cameras in on the smoking remnants of the flag, and so they had to like put it out on the wires across the world that not everybody was into this mandate of the people for Reagan, that there was something else that went on in the streets of Dallas that day.
Gregory Johnson is a dedicated communist revolutionary, and of course his right to express his beliefs is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. Are state laws against flag burning, like the one in Texas, a violation of that constitutional guarantee?
What they're all trying to do, essentially, with these statutes, is to make the flag a, quote, venerated object, an icon, with almost the strength of a religious symbol. They want to make the flag the equivalent of what the Ayatollah sees the Quran to be: infallible, above the struggle, can't be criticized, and so on.
Kunstler feels that the American public can have a significant impact upon the Supreme Court's eventual decision in the Johnson case, and singer-activist Michelle Schacht agrees.
I've been touring this month, and everywhere I've toured, I've taken the opportunity of asking people to come out in support, if not of what Joey did burning the flag, but in support of his right to speak as he feels, even if what he says might burn you.
Gregory Johnson points out, ironically for a communist perhaps, that any government that can suppress symbolic speech is just a short step from suppressing actual speech, and from there, any dissenting behavior of which it disapproves. In Washington on Thursday, the U.S. Senate passed a bill making desecration of the flag a federal crime, and that bill is now on its way to the House of Representatives for possible passage into law. If you have any thoughts about all this, you might want to communicate them to your congressman. On a less distressing note, Michael Jackson made a rare venture out into the real world this week, rounding up 200 disadvantaged kids for a day at the circus.
For 200 Santa Barbara, California kids, Wednesday's trip to the circus was even more exciting than usual, because the ringmaster wasn't the only one in a flashy red coat. Michael Jackson sponsored an afternoon performance of the acclaimed Circus Vargas for kids from a local home for dysfunctional children and from the local Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Jackson posed only briefly for photos and, of course, did not speak. But here's what the kids had to say about their afternoon full of lions, tigers, acrobats, and a pop star.
Now, what's more exciting, seeing the tigers and the lions or Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. I like the elephants.
I just sweated all over and I screamed a lot, and I loved it.
Speaking of circuses, John Bon Jovi and his band returned to their native state of New Jersey Wednesday night and turned the group's sold-out show at the Meadowlands Arena into a rock and roll carnival for 20,000 cheering fans. Here's how it went.
I think if I said it was great to be home, that would be the understatement of the year, you know what I mean?
Bon Jovi was home at last on Wednesday, and local fans were audibly delighted to have them back. So was the Garden State itself. Along with the platinum albums the group was presented for selling 5 million copies of its New Jersey LP, a proclamation was also read proclaiming it Bon Jovi Day statewide. In addition, the band was given an official key to its hometown of Sayreville.
This key also is the key that opens up all the parks, and if we had an ice skating ring, it'd open that up too, John.
The evening quickly turned into a circus both inside and outside the arena, but Bon Jovi, of course, held the center ring spotlight all night long.
We hired 100 clowns, we had fire eaters and jugglers, we had 5 40-foot paintings of us hanging out front. We've got a probably, 8-9-foot cake here. It was a hell of a party. 10,000 balloons, 20,000 people, and a partridge in a pear tree. Cheers.
We'll be back in a moment with Elvis Costello and Kevin Seal's spring break party quiz, but before we pause, let's hear what people on the street make of this First Amendment flag burning issue.
I don't think they should have the right to burn an American flag. Why do we live in America if we want to burn an American flag?
You've got no choice. People are entitled to express their opinions, and if their opinion is contempt and disdain, then they're entitled to it.
Well, I think it's stupid. I think basically it's hurting the country's morale.
It's just a flag. It's a piece of cloth, and, it represents whatever you want. Anything it represents needing burned, burn it.
What's dark, crowded, funky-smelling, really funny, and doesn't require a 2-drink minimum? MTV's half-hour comedy, that's what. With yucks, gags, chortles, chuckles, cackles, you name it. The best in stand-up. Plus profiles of the big names. Interviews with the up-and-coming and weird stuff in between. MTV's half-hour comedy hour with Mario Joyner. Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. and Sundays at 10:30 p.m. MTV's half-hour comedy hour.
The funniest 15 minutes you'll ever see.
You your man in Washington has come through?
The Americans will be most displeased. Observe. The argon-activated radio-optic laser light.
Amusing, Boris, but the party demanded Bud Light.
If you want the one light that outshines them all, ask for Bud Light.
Where is Boris? He is enjoying a cold one.
Bud Light, because everything else is just a light.
This is the Jetta that Volkswagen built. This is the deal that moves the Jetta that Volkswagen built. This is the disclaimer that goes with the deal that moves the Jetta that Volkswagen built. These are the dealers who must show the disclaimer that goes with the deal that moves the Jetta that Volkswagen built. And these are the customers who are happy with the dealers who must show the disclaimer that goes with the deal that moves the Jetta that Volkswagen built. These offers also available on Golf, GTI, and Cabriolet. Fire!
It wasn't easy getting even more delicious chocolate into something as rich in chocolate as a Three Musketeers bar. Fortunately, it's a lot easier to get all that extra chocolate out of it. Ta-da!
Welcome back to the Week in Rock, and welcome back to Declan Patrick Aloysius McManus, still better known to most people in this country as Elvis Costello. His new album, featuring 2 songs written with Paul McCartney, may be his most musically ambitious effort to date, and here he is right now to tell you all about it.
In the 12 years that he's been making records, Elvis Costello has had exactly one top 40 hit in this country, 1983's Every Day I Write the Book. But that doesn't mean he hasn't got some totally devoted fans over here.
I had a guy write to me recently say, in 1977 I was 7 years old, and I saw you on Saturday Night Live and it changed my life. Don't blame me, pal.
Costello rewards such loyalty with clever and eclectic albums that reflect his distinctively curdled worldview, like his latest, Spike, the Beloved Entertainer.
It's not a name, you know.
Yeah.
It's an instruction. Spike, the Beloved Entertainer.
Is it all in that pretty little head of yours? What goes on in that place in the dark?
The album was recorded all over the place, Hollywood, Dublin, New Orleans, with backup ranging from the Dirty Dozen Brass Band to the Chieftains, not to mention 2 collaborations with Paul McCartney, who rang Costello up one day last year and invited him over for a chat about songwriting.
She's not even sure if the name is Veronica.
He said, would you like a cup of tea? I said, yes, please, Mr. McCartney, sir. And he goes over, he's got a beautiful antique jukebox. He played me an Al Jolson record. And he said, so, do you want to write some songs then? And I said, yes. So that was that settled.
You might think that McCartney, with his penchant for silly love songs, would be exactly the sort of slick pop star that Costello would loathe. But you'd be wrong.
I always found something in even the most, sweet of his songs. I would generally find something I liked about him, you know? Now, that's my personal thing. I don't make no apology for that. And while they're not, there were other times when I would rather hear something harsher, and there still is, I don't make, divisions, between what kind of music you can like and what you can't. All that's nonsense.
Not all record buyers share that sentiment yet, though, and Costello knows his sophisticated records face an uphill climb in a market dominated by maybe his least favorite form of music, slick, shiny commercial rock.
Rock. Rock is something you dig out of the ground. It lays there. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't glow in the dark. Well, not usually. It doesn't, if you push it, it maybe rolls away, and that's about as much movement as you can get out of it. And most rock music is about as interesting as a rock,
Costello will kick off a 3-week solo tour of East Coast colleges on April 1st, starting out at the University of Rhode Island. If you happen to miss him, he'll be back later this year with a full band. Saul Robbins is an odd man out on the New York art scene. He seems to have very little interest in partying and self-promotion, and his paintings aren't likely to complement anybody's condo decor. The pictures speak eloquently for themselves, and so does he, as you're about to see.
Wake up, kids. Don't run off to the refrigerator and get a beer.
This is what the devil does. What the devil does.
I've heard a lot of feedback on the artwork.
It just hits you.
Some have been irate.
Well, I wouldn't like people seeing these paintings thinking that this is all New York is about.
Some have been very boring.
Whatever you see in it, that's what it is.
But that says more about them than it does about me. Try to, get into this mass human being and, do things that people would like. And then I decided, to hell with it, I'm going to become a good artist. This kind of work will never really find a large audience. A high art scene would tend to ignore this kind of humanness.
I frankly find much of the art today is a little inaccessible to people. It's not about people. It's about shapes and forms, and it's very far removed from what's happening in people's lives. And he is interested in the reality that people live in New York City especially. Even people in my own apartment building where I was living, where they were being driven to being a homeless person, okay? Carol was a lady who lived in my building who was evicted without representation. She was 62 at the time. Utterly helpless person. It was almost Eleanor Bumpers like 3 months before it happened because they came in through the fire escape with guns drawn. The Ship of Fools, which is a very classic idea, except that the ship in this case is made out of the business section of the New York Times with pork bellies, grains, and metals. That's something that's really close to my life since my parents died when I was very young, both of them. Basically, everybody's going to see that sooner or later.
It's very tortured, very painful work, very painful expression.
I would not, after talking briefly to Saul Robbins, thought he did it. I expected someone much more perverse, much more outrageous.
Well, what exactly is it that motivates Robbins' art then?
There could be the hope of the possibility of self-transformation, or at least self-awareness or thought, just thought.
Robbins' paintings will be going to the Soviet Union later this year as part of an arts exchange program, and you'll probably be hearing more about him in this country before long, too. We'll be back in a minute with Kevin Seal's Spring Break Madness, so don't go away.
All she wants is all she wants is.
Tonight, Spring Break 89 continues. At 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, it's Vixen and the Fix in concert. Followed by special Spring Break editions of your favorite shows. A 1-hour Club MTV with Tone Loc, Samantha Fox, Information Society, and more. Then a poolside remote control. And at 10:30 Eastern and Pacific, let loose with an all-new half-hour comedy hour. Spring Break 89. The wet, the weird, the wild. Tonight on MTV.
It wasn't easy getting even more delicious chocolate into something as rich in chocolate as a Three Musketeers bar. Fortunately, it's a lot easier to get all that extra chocolate out of it. Ta-da!
Silver Eagle Records presents Michael Jackson, his greatest hits from the Motown years. Now get Michael Jackson's greatest hits on 2 LPs, cassette, or compact disc. When you order Michael Jackson's greatest hits, the first 10,000 customers will also get as a free gift the original soul of Michael Jackson. Now, for the first time, you'll hear previously unreleased songs unavailable anywhere else. Michael Jackson's greatest hits and your free gift, the original soul of Michael Jackson on 3 LPs or 2 cassettes, $14.95. 2 CDs, $19.95. Write or call now.
Welcome back to the Week in Rock. Spring break is underway down in Daytona, Florida, and of course our man Kevin Seal is on the scene. What's he discovered so far? Well, there's more to this annual student ritual than hot bods and cold brew. There seem to be an awful lot of bikers, too. Take a look.
Sun, fun, and the freedom to tan. It's small wonder that Daytona is such a magnet for thousands of vacationing college students. Spring break, we mean to say. But springtime in Daytona Beach, Florida also attracts a somewhat different crowd who enjoy the freedom from cold weather, sleet, and slick roads. Yes, March in Daytona also means Bike Week. What's a bike week without bikers, and what's a biker without his bike? Recuperating. Be slow to go. And I think he means it. Bikes, 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 more bikes, and whatever this is. The races have concluded at the Super Speedway. The big hog parades through town are ended. The cyclists are packing up their mamas and heading north, and that can only mean one thing. Bike Week is over. On to spring break. Kevin Seal for MTV here at Daytona Beach, Florida.
Kevin's also been monitoring the more traditional aspects of spring break in Daytona, of course, and he's been springing a little pop quiz on all his new party animal friends down there. The results? Pretty educational.
Dateline, Daytona Beach, Florida. The time, spring break. I'm standing out front of the 701 South Club on the Daytona Beach Strip. The hottest club in town, a mecca of nightlife, a magnet for vacationing college students from around the country. Why have they come? If we were to ask any of them, they would tell us that they've been studying too hard. They need a break. But is it true? We're about to find out. What year were the Articles of Confederation enacted?
1782.
1782?
That's right. 1782.
What's the capital of North Dakota?
I don't know.
What treaty indirectly led to the formation of the Nazi state of Germany?
The Treaty of Versailles.
Ding, ding, ding.
One little question for you. One little question. How many states does the Mississippi flow through?
About 20, 40, 80, I don't know. Something like that.
80 is the correct answer. You do need a break. You are overtaxed. Okay, I got a simple little question for you, George.
All right.
What's the formula for the volume of a sphere?
Well, I simply feel that decision random to triumph over the means and justice of the individual, simply doing pure impurism and by virtue of its method excluding metaphysics.
That doesn't work here, George. Who's the third president of the United States, Mike?
That would have to be.
No coaching from the bouncers. Who wrote Modern Economics?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he's dead. He's totally dead. I don't know who he is, but he's dead.
Who wrote Bartleby the Scrivener?
I don't care. Let's dance.
That's the right answer.
Yeah.
I don't care either. From 701
Okay, but what about the luckless young buck who can't make the trip to Daytona? What if he's stuck in, say, Cleveland? What if he's a genuine nerd? Our man on that particular scene, the one and only Toby Radloff, has a heartening report.
Hi, this is Toby Radloff, the genuine nerd. And as you know, many hip people, including a lot of college students, are going to be heading for spring break. They're going to be going to warm climates like California, Florida, and the Bahamas. But in light of recent terrorist activity and for other unforeseen reasons, I have decided to spend my own personal spring break right here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. Sure, down in Florida, the sun is hot and intense and you could get a tan quick. But here in Cleveland, I can pretty much spend all week getting a tan. If you got the time, you'll get the tan. I'm out to get you, babes. The music's warm, the drinks are cold, and the good times are hot, hot, hot. Get on the dance floor. This is Toby Radloff, the genuine spring break party nerd, signing off.
Who needs Daytona, right? Well, that's about it. Next week we'll have Fine Young Cannibals, Lou Reed on Broadway, Bananarama Live, and a rock report from Austin, Texas. We'll see you then.